Welcome back to the Strength for Generations podcast. Now, today we are going to be talking about something that I don't think really gets super addressed honestly enough in the health and wellness space. I'm also going to get a little vulnerable with you today, a little more than usual, because this topic is not just something I know about professionally, but it's something that I've lived. So before we get into the science and the strategy and what alcohol is actually doing in your body, your nutrition, so I'm going to share a little bit more about my story. And I want you to know right from the start that nothing I say today comes from a place of judgment. Trust me, not even close. I have had enough experience with alcohol in my own life to know that this is a tender topic for a lot of people. My goal is definitely not to make you feel any shame or any guilt. My goal is to give you honest information, share what I've personally walked through, and help you make decisions about your health that feel clear and grounded. So let's dive in. Welcome to Strength for Generations, the go-to podcast for Christian families who want to build strength, restore energy, and deepen connection with God at the center. I'm Krista Baker, Christian health coach, wife, mom, and co-founder of Baker Family Fitness. I'm here to help you honor God with your health and bring peace back to the process, to simplify what it means to build strength in your body, renew your mind, and care for your spirit, all without losing precious time with your family. So grab your coffee and your ribeye, and let's do this His way. All right, my friends. Now, alcohol was a part of my life for as long as I can remember. I grew up around it. It was always available. It was always there at gatherings, at family events, in the background of a lot of memories from when I was young. And I want to be careful about how much I share here because it's not about pointing fingers at anyone, but I did see it a lot growing up. And somewhere along the way, I started to think that drinking was just what people did. It was how you had fun. It was how you connected. It was how you unwound after a hard day or celebrated a good one. I mean, I had fake ID at the time I was 15. And I remember getting drunk for the very first time. My sister had just turned 16, so I was still 14, turning 15 that year. And I was a mess. Her friends gave me beer and told me to chug it. And I thought it was the thing to do because everyone always chugged a beer when I was younger. And I got so sick. I mean, like throw up all over my bedroom sick. And, that not being a good night didn't stop me. You think, oh yeah, you learned your lesson? Absolutely not. For a long time, alcohol was something I used to escape. It was fun with friends. I remember sneaking and stealing alcohol from my dad's cupboard, replacing water with it if he was measuring it to make sure that I wouldn't get caught. And that was since I was in grade 9. And then I had a fake ID at 15 and I would go and get alcohol for my friends. A lot of the times why I was doing that was because I didn't want to feel things that I actually felt. And I carried that into my adult life. Even when Mike and I got married, we drank a lot in the early years of our marriage. Even before that, I worked in the bar and restaurant industry for a very long time. I had fun. I really did have fun working in that industry, but it became very toxic because when you're the bartender, everyone wants to have a drink with you. A lot of the times I would be the designated driver so that I wouldn't drink. And then there's a lot of times I would make sure that I didn't have to be the one driving because I wanted to have fun and party. And, even when Mike and I were first together, it caused a lot of problems for us, real problems. And it took a lot of time and work to get through those issues that we were having, those problems that we were having. And then something changed everything. We were saved. Mike and I met an amazing group of people at a concert, and they told us about Jesus. They told us that they were part of a worship band, and I didn't even know what worship was at that time, even growing up in a Catholic church when I was younger. And they invited us to come to church. And the following Sunday, we were there. I wasn't hungover. I didn't drink that Saturday night because I knew we were going to go to this place on Sunday. And so I didn't want to be hungover. That was when Bailey was 8 months old and Casey was 4. And the day before Bailey turned 1, we got baptized. And I can't fully explain what happened, except that the desire to not drink really started to shift. I didn't want to go out drinking anymore. I didn't want to be in those spaces. It didn't feel good. It felt a little bit disorienting because I had spent so much time having fun and partying and, standing in these long lineups to get a drink. Like, it was crazy. So much of our social life had been built around it. And I remember thinking, like, is this boring now? Like, am I boring? Is this what life just looks like? Are we going to lose all of our friends? And guess what? A lot of those friendships did change. Because when you stop drinking, you find out pretty quickly which relationships were built on shared habits and which ones were built on something real. But what came out of that season was so much clarity. Clarity about what I actually wanted, clarity about the kind of mom and wife I wanted to be, and clarity about what alcohol had actually been doing to my body, my energy, and my health all those years. So when I talk about this topic, I'm not talking about it just from like this textbook. Well, what does it say about your health? What does it do in your organs? And we're going to talk about that. But I'm talking about it from a lot of experience. I just know that it was really hurting me physically. It was hurting my relationships. It was hurting the fact that I couldn't wake up the next morning and just spend a nice Sunday morning with my kids because I was too hungover. They nicknamed it the Krista Cold. And so I want you to have the opportunity to understand what role alcohol might be playing in your own health journey today. Okay? Now, I want to get into something before we dive into the science behind things, because this is something I hear a lot. So if you're a person of faith and you're listening to this episode, at some point in your mind, or maybe someone has said this to you, well, Jesus turned water into wine. And you're right, he did. Jesus performed his first miracle at a wedding, and it involved turning water into wine. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that alcohol is inherently sinful or that the Bible condemns drinking altogether. That's not what it says, and that's not what I'm going to pretend otherwise. But here's what the Bible does say very clearly. Ephesians 5:18 says, "Do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit." And Proverbs 21 says, "Wine is a mocker and beer a brawler. Whoever is led astray by them is not wise." And then, the one we talk about a lot is 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20, which is a verse, we come back to it a lot. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. The distinction the Bible makes is not between drinking and not drinking. It's between moderation and not being led astray. It's between a glass of wine at dinner and a lifestyle that is shaped and controlled by alcohol. And what I want to talk about today is not whether you should ever have a drink. That's between you and God. What I want to share is just what alcohol is actually doing to your body when it becomes a regular part of your routine. Because most people have no idea. And once you understand, then you get to actually make a truly informed decision. Okay, so first thing you need to understand is that alcohol is not treated like food in your body. When you eat protein or carbs or fat, your body processes them and use them for energy or repair or fuel. When you drink alcohol, your body treats it like a toxin. Your body identifies alcohol as something that needs to be dealt with immediately, so everything else gets put on hold. Your fat burning stops, your muscle repair slows down. Your liver is responsible for so much of your metabolic function. And so it drops everything it's doing to process the alcohol out of your system. And that process takes time. So depending on how much you drink, it could take hours, sometimes longer. And while that's happening, your body's not burning fat, not building muscle, not doing any of the things that you worked hard all week to set up. It's just dealing with the alcohol. And if it's already in a compromised position, which most people's livers are, it's just causing a little bit more fuel to the fire. So alcohol contains 7 calories per gram. So for context, protein, carbs, they both contain 4, and fat contains 9. So alcohol sits up there near fat in terms of caloric density. But unlike fat or protein or carbs, alcohol has zero nutritional value. There's no vitamins or minerals or fiber or protein or anything that your body can actually use. So we can call that empty calories. And they add up faster than most people realize. So like a glass of wine is roughly 120 to 150 calories. I mean, my pours used to probably be like 300 calories. A beer can range from 150 to 200 depending on the type. Most cocktails, depending on what you're mixing it with, 250 to 400 calories or more. And most people aren't just having one. On a Friday night, maybe at the backyard gathering or a Saturday at the cottage, you're easily consuming at least 500 to 800 extra calories just from drinks. And your body's not processing any of it as fuel. It's processing it as a toxin that needs to be cleared. And so your liver does an enormous amount of work for your body every single day. It filters your blood, it processes nutrients, it regulates hormones, it supports your immune system, it plays a direct role in your metabolism and your body's ability to burn fat. So when you drink regularly, even moderately, you're adding a significant workload to an organ that is already working really hard. And over time, that chronic load starts to affect how well your liver functions. And when your liver is not functioning optimally, everything else suffers. Your energy suffers, your sleep suffers, your hormone balance suffers, your ability to manage your weight suffers. And if you're a woman navigating perimenopause, your liver plays a huge role in processing and clearing estrogen from your body. And when your liver is overburdened by alcohol, it cannot do that job effectively. And that makes your hormonal symptoms of perimenopause significantly worse. Your mood swings, the sleep disruption, the weight gain around your midsection, all of it can be amplified by regular alcohol consumption. Something that I see happen literally every year, and you might recognize this in yourself, is by September, a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I feel terrible. And I'll explain a little bit more in a second. But what I call that, like it's the September people that reach out for health coaching, is that they're coming off of a barbecue hangover. And it's not just one backyard party. It's a whole summer, a whole season where, the summer arrives and it comes with the patios, the cottages, the cabins, the camping trips, the all-inclusive vacations. The alcohol is just woven into all of it. It's at every gathering, every part of every celebration. It's how you relax on the dock and how you wind down after a long day in the sun. So then when that September comes, I feel terrible. I feel puffy. I feel sluggish. I feel like I undid everything I worked for in the spring. And I want to get back on track, but I don't even know where to start. And honestly, guys, it didn't happen because of one weekend. It happened because of a whole season. So this cumulative effect on your body, your liver, your metabolism, your sleep, your nutrition, it's all adding up. So remember, it's not just about the drinks as well. It's what happens around the drinking. So alcohol lowers your inhibitions, including your nutrition inhibitions. The late night chips happen and the extra plate at the barbecue happens and the skipped morning workout because you feel so rough. And that ripple effect of those weekend drinks is much bigger than just the drinks themselves. So what can we do with all of this? Because I really don't want you to walk away from this episode feeling defeated or judged. Let's come up with a clear plan. First, you don't have to drink to belong. I have a lot of clients who are like, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do? I'm going away and this is what we normally do, but I actually don't want to do it. And I've watched my husband do that too, man. I'm so proud of him because, sometimes these golf tournaments and nights out or events or, guys going out after work, they include a lot of booze and it just doesn't feel good when he does it. So it's like, I just don't want to do it. So just remember, guys, you don't have to drink to belong. I know there's real social pressure around this. It's like this unspoken expectation that drinking's just part of the experience. So when you choose not to drink, people notice. And sometimes they'll say things like, oh, come on, just one, or what are you, pregnant? Or you used to be so fun. And so how do we prep for that? Because we know it's going to happen. Well, first and foremost, you don't owe anyone an explanation. I sometimes would do that. In the beginning, I would give these explanations. And now I'm just like, I don't want to have a drink. I'm good. But you can have a sparkling water with lime. Nobody has to know that it's not a cocktail. Or you can say, I'm good, thanks, and move on without a speech. You can enjoy every single moment of that gathering, that vacation, that backyard party without a drink in your hand. And the more practice you get, it gets a lot easier. I promise you that. Because what you're going to start to notice is that you're going to wake up the next morning feeling clear, feeling rested, feeling like yourself. Instead of feeling like I'm going to waste my whole day in bed and then I got to get back to work or back to reality feeling terrible. You're going to feel more motivated. So one of the biggest reasons people end up drinking when they did not intend to is they walked into the situation with a decision already made. And then the environment makes the decision for them. So before you go to the gathering, before you go to board the plane or you pull up into the cottage driveway, just make the decision. Not because you need to feel guilty about it or this obligation. It's just a conscious choice for your health and your goals. Just decide in advance and you will be surprised how much easier it is to hold to it in the moment. Remember, willpower might run out, especially when you're tired, when everyone around you is drinking. And I know, like, you're in the sun, you're in the water, someone hands you a cold drink. Willpower is not just going to hold, but a reason will. So connect your choice to something that matters more to you than the drink. For me, it was my faith, my kids, wanting to be present and clear and fully there for my family, not wanting to undo the work that I had put into my health. It was because my liver was definitely overloaded and I was having a lot of health issues. And so I had to remember those things before I would go out and be like, well, I'm not drinking tonight, or I'll be the designated driver. I definitely don't have a hard time doing that anymore, even with people teasing me. And honestly, if they keep teasing, it's like, I'm just not going to be around you. Now, I want to come back to something before we close. We talked about 1 Corinthians 6 earlier. Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. That verse gets quoted a lot without people really thinking about what it means in practical daily life. A temple is not just a building. It's a place that is set apart. It's a place that is maintained with intention. It's a place where something sacred lives. And that invitation in that verse is to treat your body with that same kind of intention. And remember, not out of fear, out of reverence for what God had placed inside of you, for the life God gave you, for the calling He put on you. And when I think about it that way, the question isn't just, is this drink going to affect my weight loss? This question becomes, does this choice reflect how I want to steward what God has given me? And that's a much more powerful question. And it is one only you can answer. But I think when you start asking it honestly, it changes how you make decisions. And not just about alcohol, about all of it, your food, your sleep, your movement, your stress. All of it becomes an act of stewardship when you see your body through that lens. And that's what I want for you, my friends. Not a life without joy or celebration, but a life where your daily choices reflect the value you place on the body God gave you and the calling He placed on your life. Now, if this episode stirred something in you, whether it was, just the science part about it, the story, me being a little bit vulnerable maybe, I want to invite you to take one step. Because remember, information without action is just something you listened to once and then forgot. If you're ready to stop guessing and start building a health foundation that fits your real life and your family and your faith and your goals, I want to invite you again to check out the Move Mountains Method free 5-day training. It's an experience that walks you through the exact foundations you need to start building health that lasts. We talk about your why, fueling your body, moving your body in a way that you can actually maintain, mindset shifts that actually make all the difference. And we ground all of it in faith and in the truth that your health is an act of stewardship. I built this because I really want to help as many people as I possibly can. So it's totally free. You can get started at bakerfamilyfitness.com/movemountains. I'll also pop the link in the show notes so it's easy to find. But I want to just say thanks, guys. Thanks for trusting me with this one. I know alcohol is a topic that carries a lot of weight for a lot of people. I had a lot of trauma in my life because of alcohol. Some of it was my own choice. Some of it was not my own choice. And it was the root. And so even sometimes smelling specific alcohols will trigger me. And I know this might bring up some of your own history, some of your past, maybe some of your pain. And then sometimes this could be just a helpful reframe about your summer habits. Either way, I hope you feel respected in this conversation and I hope you feel more informed. and to help you feel more equipped to make choices that honor the life that you're building. Because you really matter. Your family's watching, and the choices that you make today are building something that goes far beyond you. So just remember, one step. It's all it takes. Maybe that step is sharing this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Or finally leaving that review that I've been nagging you about. It genuinely helps more families find this podcast. But until then, my friends, just keep building strength for generations. Thanks for tuning in to Strength for Generations. If this podcast encouraged you, it would be a blessing if you took a quick minute to leave a 5-star review. It helps more families hear this message and find hope for their health and faith journey. It lights me up to know this podcast is helping you. And if you feel led to share this episode, text it to a friend, post it to your stories, or send it to someone on your heart. God might use it to encourage someone who really needs it today. And don't forget to eat steaks, lift weights, love Jesus, and keep doing it His way.